Welcome, episode 3, Trad West podcast. Hopefully, you like the first 2 episodes. Easing into this, new to it, getting critiques from friends, family. I know I need something behind me. I had a Made in America big ass balcony American flag on order, but it's on back order. So I'm just going to have to make do for now. I knew this lighting's pissing me off a bit. That's why I'm putting the sunglasses on. Everything suggests artificial lighting. Don't like it. But they say it makes better quality. We'll see. Maybe I'll end up doing stuff in a darker way later. This episode is going to be on marriage. 2-parent households. The nuclear family. Which for some reason is demonized in society today. Divorce is rampant. Single motherhood is promoted. The courts and the state are all in favor of the women. But the nuclear family is the backbone to a thriving society. The stats don't lie. Kids that grow up in a 2-parent household are much better off. One of those liberal-leaning media clickbait headlines was, is having 2 parents or is growing up in a 2-parent household an unfair advantage? It's an advantage for sure. It's not unfair because that's what should be being promoted. But for some reason, that's not what's being promoted. The powers that be want people not having kids, not getting married, or getting married and getting divorced. So, how do we get more people to want to get married still and have children? Because actually next episode, I'm going to go in depth on that. I've mentioned a little bit in previous ones, but because we got feminism teaching women, skip, you don't need kids, you don't need a husband. Focus on you. You do you, queen. Inherently selfish. And then we got the red pillars teaching guys the same thing. They're only adapting due to feminism and the modern woman. But it's still terrible prescriptions if you want to fix the culture and society. That is my goal, to fix the culture and society. And in order to do that, we need to still be telling people, get married, have kids. Incentives. Because right now, what's incentivized? Single motherhood. And women are incentivized to get divorced. And as I mentioned last episode, women initiate 70% of divorces. So how do we make men more interested in still getting married and not afraid of the giant liability that it has become? Well, in my perfect world, as I said in the last one, we'd get rid of no-fault divorce. So I think that would make a lot of men come around if they weren't like guaranteed to be fucked over in a divorce. They might be more inclined to marry. But I'm talking major incentives from the state. Major tax breaks. If you're married, maybe you unlock tier 1, getting married. Tier 2, have a child. another tier for the second child, because then you're at least at replacement level if you had 2 kids, or we just make it as long as you're married and have a kid. But I'm talking major incentive, like no income tax. Something drastic. And that's not incentive for single mother who has 5 kids with 5 different baby daddies. No. That should not be incentivized. Now, it's not the kid's fault, so I don't want those kids in that situation to be screwed. But we need to not be promoting that and giving them a bunch of benefits, because that is sadly what some women just do. Keep pumping kids out to collect that state money. No, you're only getting it if you're married, you stay married, you have kids together. And hey, I know there's people out there that aren't capable of having kids. You get married, you adopt. Same thing. We're going to count that as your kid if you adopt. Because you're doing a really good and noble thing when you adopt a child. So massive tax breaks. Now, kicker, and a lot of ladies probably aren't going to get mad at this one. DNA tests are mandatory at birth. That's right. You are the father. Maury, that's got to be the verdict. These men need to know that the children are theirs. And the only women that are going to get upset at this are the hoes that are sleeping around and don't know who the daddy is, or they were knowingly with a nice guy getting cream pied by some fucking losers, but they know he's a deadbeat and he's not going to be a good dad. So they lie to the nice guy and tell him that it's his. Then this guy goes on years paying and supporting this child, loving this child, only to inevitably one day find out that it's not his. There's not a whole lot in this world that's more despicable than that. If that's you, ladies, man up and tell the truth. That's messed up. And I'm not knocking guys that become stepdads, take on a kid that isn't theirs, and help support it. I'm knocking if you're under the belief that it is your child and come to find out it's not, it's another man's. No, she got to go. She got to go. Ultimate betrayal. So, DNA tests are mandatory. You're married, you have kids. We have acknowledged it's both of your kid. Now, I'm trying not to promote divorce. I want people to stay married, but living in reality. And in my perfect world, even if they got rid of no fault divorce, there's still going to be divorce for very serious reasons. So there will be people divorcing still. So, maybe you get divorced, you get remarried, you have kids with that person. you get the tax breaks again, but it isn't just you get married and have kids and you're forever grandfathered in on this major tax break, because then people will just be doing it short term, getting divorced, and trying to claim the benefits. No. No, no, no. The goal here is to promote marriage and staying married together, because your kids are so much more well off if they are growing up in a household with two parents. As I might have mentioned last time with marriage, as I said, get rid of no fault divorce, make it harder to get divorced. I would also like to make it harder to get married. We build barriers to entry into marriage. Why? Well, is marriage really to be taken serious if you can have met someone 30 minutes ago? We're getting hitched. Maybe you had a few too many brouhahas. Vegas, let's get married. Now you're legally married. That should be a no-no. I know some states require maybe like a 2-day waiting period. That's too soon as well. So what kind of barriers do we put in place? I've thought about this a bit. It's not a perfect system, but I'm open to ideas. I'm just throwing this out there. So, maybe the easiest thing would be you got to be able to prove you've been together for a certain period of time. Time can be a thing. Being from a military background, you have to have references for a background check for your security clearance. Resumes, you put references on. Maybe we have relationship references. Now, yeah, people could game the system and just put really close friends that will just lie for them. Maybe. But we all know those toxic couples. They're off again, on again, off again, on again, off again, on again. Always fighting, drama, toxic, cheating on each other, you name it. But let's say they try to file for marriage in that circumstance where they just get back together and it's all sunshine and rainbows for a second. Maybe one of the references they put down while in private with the investigator is a little truthful. Says, they're not a good couple. They're always fighting. They break up, get back together, break up, get back together. It's toxic. I don't think they're a good couple. And maybe that's not the sole determining factor, because then you could always have friends that are jealous who just lie to the investigator. Common in women. Don't get mad. But ladies, you like to take bad advice from single female friends of yours. And they be lying to you because either they're jealous that you found somebody and you're happy and in love, or they just miss you going out girls' night, getting freaky with them. Single women will give their women and friends terrible advice that are in relationships. It's where you hear all this, leave him, he's too controlling. So it's not a perfect system. You got to be careful. There might be liars, but still, overall, I feel, that was a decent idea to set up a barrier. What was the other one? The other one was, thinking of like the Newlywed Game and all those old game shows where you have to like get asked questions about your spouse and see if you get it right to like, hey, what's their favorite blah 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 color? I don't know, food, you name it. Just stuff, kind of basic stuff, but stuff that you should know about your partner if you're truly invested. So you take I guess a pop quiz about your relationship. Maybe that can be a factor. But if we make barriers to getting married, and then, like I said, in my perfect world, you got barriers to exit marriage too, get rid of no fault divorce, then marriage is a little more meaningful, and the marriages, I think, will be stronger. Also, the stat that I brought up last episode, it was like 70% of couples not fully understanding what marriage entailed. Yeah, that's something that we should be sitting people down. I don't know if it needs to be a counselor, therapist, I don't know. But prior to marriage, I mean, at the very least, you get a little pamphlet that tells you what marriage is about, what marriage entails. I know the place that I got my engagement ring for my fiance from, it actually did come with a little pamphlet that kind of said what to expect out of marriage and that, and what you should be ready for and doing. But it seemed like the company was a little more religion based, so that made sense. So you take a pop quiz, you get a background check on your relationship. You'll have a stronger relationship. I think there would be less divorce in those scenarios. But we need to incentivize marriage and children. And yeah, my barriers to get married and barriers to exit marriage might overall lead to less people getting married, but the people that do get married are going to be more likely to stay together and remain together. So that's a win, in my opinion. You won't just have people willy nilly getting married that don't know what they're getting themselves into. So like I said, 2-parent household, nuclear family, crucial for thriving society. Kids raised in single mother households statistically do not do that well. No hate for the single moms. There are some really great single moms out there. But the numbers don't lie. Statistics show children that grow up in single mother households do far worse than if they grow up in a 2-parent household. And they even do worse than if they just grow up in a single father household. Very important. They need a male role model. Let me give you an example on why. You see these OnlyFans girls out here, and they get questioned. Are your parents still together? Say 8 times out of 10, it's a no. Maybe 9 times out of 10, it's a no. No, my mom raised me. Yep. Yep. How's she feel about your OnlyFans? Oh, she supports me. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Degenerate. That's why single mothers do terrible job at raising their daughter. Encouraging or allowing them to do degenerate shit like OnlyFans. If they were in their single father household, he would have told his daughter, "What's up? You ain't doing that shit. Or you can fucking be out on your own." Tough love. Tough love works. I was raised with tough love. You're living under my roof. I'm feeding and sheltering you. It's not a democracy. What I say goes. That's proper parenting. I'm not saying you have to be mean all the time, but the kids don't get to decide. They're kids. And you're supposed to be looking out for what's best for them. Even if it means they're going to get mad at you, they're going to get upset, you're doing something for the best interest of the kids. And guess what? Letting your daughter go on OnlyFans is going to mean she's going to be getting ran through and no dude's going to want to take her serious. So she's probably going to end up single and alone come later, her latter years. Now, the current modern dating world and marriage. Because I'm trying to tell people to get married, but there's going to be plenty of guys, especially the ones that listen to the red pillars. No, dude, why would I get married? It's a liability. Just going to screw me over. I'm going to owe half my retirement. Or the red pillars might confront me like, why should I? Give me a compelling argument to why I should want to get married. Well, my only fix right now is mainly time. Unless they get rid of no fault divorce and implement stuff like I said, I would ideally like. The best thing you can do right now, gentlemen, is just truly get to know your partner and spend more time dating and truly knowing the ins and outs of your partner so that you know you can truly trust this individual prior to giving the ring. Now, I get it. If you're already, up there in age, this might not be ideal. And I'm not even telling you that you have to wait as long as me. But I'll give you my personal story. I'm finally engaged, and I got engaged a few months ago. After 8 years of being with my fiance. She got the ring after 8 years of dating. Now, I'm not saying you have to wait that long. There are different factors that came into play on why I waited so long. A big part, as I mentioned, having been military, I knew I was going to deploy at some point. So I straight up told her, hey, I know I'm going to deploy. You got to at least survive a deployment, at least one deployment first before you be getting a ring. I live in reality, and I've seen far too many military people, whether it's the individual that deploys and's fucking around over there or the spouse back home. Or maybe they don't cheat and they just literally can't handle being separated for that much time. Had to make sure that that was going to last. That wasn't going to be an issue. Because who knows, maybe there's going to be multiple deployments. So had to make sure survived a deployment. And any military people out there, I'll warn you. Me personally, I never want it as a Male, I never wanted to date military chicks. No offense, military ladies out there. I know some of you are awesome. Some of you are great, but I don't trust it. A lot of women are promiscuous in the military. They mainly work around dudes. Dudes are always hitting on them. And a lot of people have no self-control being away from each other for 6 months. To me, 6 months ain't that long. Other people can't handle it. And when you deploy, the crazy thing is, it's not the single people that are going around trying to have sex. Some of the worst people on deployment are the married people. Freedom! Do whatever they want, thousands of miles away. Yeah. Sad reality, but true. I'm not going to out any people, but, I know from my deployment, it was watching certain people do stuff. And then as soon as they get back from deployment, you see their Facebook and it's love you, babe, love you, da 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 da. Been together this long. Really? So that was a big stipulation. And then I just wanted to have a house, have a good paying job, be able to support a family, you know, have everything strong and together before our ring came. So that's my best advice for modern dating and marriage. If there's no changes to the laws and no fault divorce, you just got to truly get to know your partner. Date longer. These people that are given a ring within 6 months, you're crazy. You're absolutely insane. Now, if you're religious, you want a lot of kids, I get it. You got to start as soon as possible. But religious people's marriages usually have a better chance of working out anyways. So they might not have to worry anyways. But especially if you're not religious, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes before you give that ring. And I say before you give the ring just because my personal opinion is I think it looks worse when you're engaged for a really long time versus like, hey, we're dating, I haven't given the ring yet. I think it looks worse if you give the ring and you're engaged. I feel like within 1 to 2 years max, you should be planning to have that wedding. So that's why I didn't want to do it too soon. And then, oh, we've been engaged 5, 6 years. No, that looks terrible, in my opinion. And these rings ain't cheap, fellas. These rings ain't cheap. Big shock. Big shock. But shop around. Do not just blindly go into a store and take what they give you because they're like sharks. They're like used car salesmen, just ready to pounce. They don't want you to leave the store that day. So, live together longer. All right, live together prior. In my opinion, that can be a big culture shock having never lived together. So, I think it would be preferable if you live together first. I get, again, religious people, you're not supposed to live together beforehand. It is what it is. But there's a lot of things that can be eye opening. They're dirtier than you thought. You know, they're clean freak more than you thought, you know? Little stuff that can bother you. And then let's just talk about it. How long did you wait before you like farted in front of your partner? Maybe you guys have only been dating and you've never even farted or pooped in front of each other. That could be eye-opening. Maybe you got some stanky ass. And that could be an eye-opener. I don't know that I've ever heard anyone say, "I'm breaking up with him because his farts stank too much," but it could be a turnoff. And I don't remember how long I waited before I farted, but I remember waiting. Didn't wanna do that. Getting stomach ache, holding them in. So that's something to think about. But two-parent household, nuclear family, monogamous relationship. That's your best bet. I know guys that watch the Red Pill are gonna be, "Whoa, high status guy. You have multiple partners." Hey, if you can find a woman that's okay with that, most of them aren't. Most of them aren't. And I'm sorry, unless you're just super, super successful, rich, and the women are with you just because they want that stable resource, most likely I'm going to say it's not going to work out. And then you better be very careful getting married because they might just be trying to get married to you and divorce. But monogamous societies are generally more stable as well. There was a stat like every polygamous society, the top 10 polygamous societies were either in a civil war currently or have been involved in a civil war within the past 10 years. And I didn't quite understand it at first, but then after thinking about it and hearing, it made sense. This is why so many of the Muslim countries in the Middle East are so unstable. And you have guys that are just no problem putting a bomb onto their chest and blowing themselves up. Polygamous societies, the guys at the top have multiple wives. They got 4 or 5 wives. That leaves these guys in the bottom rung with no purpose, no love, no meaning, no family to carry on their bloodline, no purpose. So they'll just go blow themselves up. That's why these countries that practice polygamy are generally really unstable. So, the positive is, as all the red pillar content creators seem more doom and gloom, it's too late, don't get married, fellas. I'm more positive and I am promoting marriage and kids because these people, these crazies on the left, they're not having kids. The birth rate is below replacement right now. One side's teaching people not to have kids. They're either getting abortions, they just don't want them because of climate change, they're on birth control for their whole lives. They're not having kids. The people who are having kids, for the most part, are the religious people. So, the religious people are having kids, the degenerates aren't. 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, I know it's a long game, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But in the long game, in the end, we win. In the end, we win. So, play the long game and just make sure you instill your children with good foundational morals and values so that these sick leftists who are in the education system are not so easily able to brainwash and manipulate your children. As long as you give them a good foundation, the chances of them being manipulated very less likely. But don't rush into marriage, but date to marry, Don't be sleeping around, hookup culture. Get off the dating apps. I'll do an episode on those too. I was on them for a little bit, but most of it's low quality people. Probably not anybody you want to be marrying. Meet them out in the world, in real life. I think I about covered everything for marriage there. Two-parent households, nuclear family. We need to be promoting it. That's what's best. Feel free to like, follow, comment for the ones that I'm posting on YouTube, Rumble. I know someone told me that it sounded better in podcast form on Spotify. That is what I'm trying to do these longer form episodes for. I'm also creating Rumble YouTube content, but these ones that are supposed to be podcast episodes are meant for podcast form, but I still want to upload them to YouTube Rumble. So give me a like, give me a follow. Follow me on all platforms: X, Truth, Facebook, fucking YouTube, Rumble. Not on TikTok yet. Hate that app. Probably once I start creating shorts or something, I might, but I'll probably get banned from that. So, till next episode, everybody. Next episode will be my favorite episode, Feminism and the Red Pill. So, until then, Trad West Podcast out.